Is computing losing its heritage, and why are Nintendo so keen to stop people emulating its historic unsupported Nintendo titles?
This week we'll be discussing corporate espionage, the shatterproof phone, the latest social media app update and Firefox's new venture, as well as all the latest news and developments from the iOS world. Hello, I'm Cameron.
And I'm Luke. We're here from Free Deal Studio, keeping you up to date with the latest app news and releases.
This is App to Date.
First off, I'd like to say a massive thank you to all our listeners. This week we were number 1 most listened to technology podcast, number 1 most listened to tech news podcast, number 6 most subscribed to technology podcast, number 2 most subscribed to tech news podcast.
Yes.
So that's pretty awesome. We're actually outranking
Pretty much everyone, actually. We were smashing it. We had 7 of the top 10 podcasts in tech news. 7 out of 10. People just don't stand a chance.
So that's pretty awesome. And not only that, we were on the iTunes landing page. No clicking, no scrolling required. Just load and there we were. I just can't believe how quickly it's all blown up. We've only been around, 15, 16 weeks, and we're outranking people who've been doing this for absolutely years, and we owe it all to you guys. If you'd like to further support the show, make sure you head over to aptodatepodcast.freedeal.co.uk, where we've got all sorts of goodies and floating heads for you to click on. See you there. So Cameron, would you like to get us started with corporate espionage?
Yeah, I've got a really interesting piece of news here. A former Apple executive has been sentenced to a year in prison for selling secrets. Paul Devine, who was a supply manager for the iPhone maker between 2005 and 2010, sold confidential information to suppliers and manufacturers so they could negotiate better deals with Apple. He escaped a maximum 20-year sentence, but was told to pay an absolutely massive $2.5 million fine for his crimes. So Luke, you've had first-hand experience of corporate espionage, haven't you? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
I have indeed. I was working up at a local radio station called 107.8 Academy FM. A person come in who claimed to be work experience. He was actually sort of 25 years old. He came in, we thought, standard guy doing a bit of work experience down at Academy FM. He had explained to us that he'd worked at another radio station beforehand. Not that he was still working there. He was saying that he was going to be there for about, 15 weeks or something. 4th week came along, we noticed a whole bunch of documents had gone missing about ratings and stuff. And so had he. So, I've had first-hand experience of corporate espionage. It's
So what happened with that? Did he literally just disappear? And
the guy literally disappeared. We do actually know which station he came from, but I can't say on air exactly who it was.
Yeah.
But we know what you did. We know what you did.
He knows what you did. No, I heard he set up a fake Facebook and everything.
Yeah, this guy, he did go whole hog on it. He created a Facebook account, a fake Twitter account to convince us that, this social media fake personality. We didn't really mind, to be honest. He could have been anyone. We just wanted to give him a little bit of experience, but a bit of backstabbing, I think, there.
A bit of backstabbing. I hope you feel ashamed of yourself.
Alias John Smith.
Never trust a man called John Smith. So, moving on. Can Apple innovate a shatterproof phone? A newly approved patent may be the key to iPhone screen longevity.
SquareTrade, a company offering tech protection plans, found that Americans have spent nearly $6 billion repairing damaged iPhones. Accidental damage, i.e. cracked screens, are 10 times more common than getting your phone stolen or losing it.
In the UK, a report by a mobile insurance company claims that as many as 25% of iPhones have a broken screen, many of which do nothing about it.
So we can land a satellite on a moving comet, but we can't stop phone screens from breaking from 3 foot.
It's pretty sad, isn't it? It's pretty sad. However, Apple Insider have described Apple's new protection patent as a mechanism that uses the iPhone's built-in sensors to gather data on the speed of fall, rate of spin, angular velocity, time to impact, and even orientation.
Once the calculations are complete, the system activates a protective mechanism designed to reposition the device in mid-air so as to impart the least amount of damage on fragile components such as the screen.
The main example uses a motor with eccentric mass able to impart a force on a falling phone's rotational axis, causing it to land on a preferred side, such as the side or back. So basically, it turns your iPhone into a cat.
O2 have it completely wrong. Be more dog, they must be joking. Be more cat. They're trying to encourage insurance sales because everybody knows that dogs are stupid.
They did. I too. We knew there was something up with that. I love cats. I mean, what are you, a cat person or a dog person?
It's like comparing iOS to Android. Don't be more Android.
Well, to see a weird Photoshop of a catalogue hybrid, we've affectionately named the catalogue. We'll put a link to the Free Deal Studio channel on YouTube in the show notes. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting, and you can check that out.
But this isn't all.
There are also some really cool ideas in the patent that steampunk fans are going to love, such as incorporating gas canisters into the new iPhone to use as a thrust mechanism to reorientate the device during freefall. Imagine a gas-powered, indestructible floating iPhone.
Marty McFly's hoverboard's almost here.
Ba-dum-tsh.
It would be fantastic to see an iPhone freefall and then just elevate about a metre off the floor.
It would be incredible. Can you imagine illusionists? They'd be having a field day.
So it's quite funny about this is if it only reacts after it does the calculations. If you're somebody who's vertically challenged, you're more likely to break your iPhone.
Can you imagine if you're one of these free runners?
Yeah.
You could just sort of attach a couple of iPhones to like your back pockets, do a flip and like leap.
You take it on a trampoline and the gas canister goes off in your pocket.
Yeah, so it's a nice idea, Apple, but we're probably going to see flexible OLED display screens before we see these patents applied to Apple products.
You can check out the approved patent and all of its details by visiting the US Patent Trade Office. We'll include a link in today's episode's show notes that you can find on aptodatepodcast.3deal.co.uk. That's the number 3.
That's the number 3, it is. So moving on to social media, Twitter introduced the new photo filters and Facebook launch auto-playing video ads.
This week, Twitter roll out an extra 8 new photo filters to iOS and Android devices. The dubbed Instagram-style filters will be added to the collection, which was originally created in 2012, available on your Twitter app. To adjust the strength, you simply select the filter and tap it again to bring up a slider. Filters are available after adding an image to a tweet by tapping on the photo's thumbnail. Now, it hasn't come to the UK yet, has it, Cameron?
No.
So is there an alternative for UK listeners?
Yes, there is. Aside from the obvious one, which is Instagram itself, I highly recommend Photoshop Express. For me, it beats anything else on the market. I've mentioned it in previous episodes. But if you get Photoshop Express and you also get the great photo app, which is an excellent DSLR photography tutorial app, and then you combine that with the iOS 8 manual camera settings, you can go and have an absolute excellent time. I mean, Instagram filters are no comparison to this, so Twitter ones certainly won't be either.
I feel like there's already maybe too many photo filtering apps. I mean, your phone automatically filters it anyway. It has to go through a lot of filters and sensors just to get into your phone in the first place. And then Apple offer them inside the photo stream, and then you upload them to anywhere, they'll offer you some. And then there's even third-party ones that will filter them before they go up onto these various places. I'm beginning to think there's just too many photo filtering going on, and eventually there's going to be absolutely no raw photos left in the world.
Yeah, there's a photo filter influx.
Yeah.
And we're all just going to be lost in this sort of parallel dimension, yeah.
People are going to look back on this era in time and think, wow, there was a lot of colour back then.
Well, this it's quite interesting actually. This all kind of started from a Russian camera company who made the old school Lomo cameras, which are really poorly made, so they leaked a lot of light. So you've got all these kind of strange effects. You've got bleached out photos, you've got kind of dull photos, all these interesting effects, which now everyone thinks is fantastic. But I mean, it was actually a defect, which really is similar to Harley. I mean, Harley engines making the noise that everyone loves so much. I think it was because their pistons were out of time.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why they're so unreliable. And it is interesting. These things that would be classed as technical defects, people love.
If people just didn't love them.
Yeah, that's it.
They're lovable defects.
They're lovable defects. Everyone loves a defect.
And that's how we will forever remember Instagram. Next up, Facebook are going to be automatically playing app install ads in video form on your newsfeed. This is probably going to be the most annoying app crash-tastic feature of all time, and it's definitely going to eat massively into your data plan. With no official statement saying if it's available to turn them off, this could be the worst move in Facebook's history, in my opinion. However, it is not a confirmed permanent feature, and at the moment it's only going to be over the holidays.
I completely agree with you there, Luke. I think it's an absolutely stupid idea. As you've said, this is going to be eating into people's data plans. Facebook have worked so hard to get everyone to install their multiple apps, Messenger, Facebook itself, groups, pages. I mean, it's endless. And now they're going to be spamming probably all of them eventually with these inbuilt ads, which are forced. Just, every app you go into is going to be eating into your precious data. People will start uninstalling Facebook apps if this happens.
I've got nothing to add to that.
He's got nothing to add to that.
But moving on into your community, Neighbourhoods is a free app aimed at getting locals more familiar with their community.
Described as a hand-picked neighbourhood social feed, Neighbourhoods, spelled Neighbrhds, yes, very stylish, is a series of localised mobile apps aimed at connecting users with their community. They offer a curated social feed with social media updates from nearby hotspots.
Each of its apps is named after its corresponding neighbourhood and focuses on providing users with local information tailored specifically to their area. They make it quick and easy for residents and visitors to instantly access information about community events and local businesses and more.
Now, I've heard this app does have its limitations, Luke, so what are they?
The Neighbourhoods app is currently only available in San Francisco, Los Angeles and Las Vegas areas, with San Diego, Kansas City, Kona and Martha's Vineyard, all through parts of New Jersey and South Florida, are due to be completed pretty soon. This app certainly isn't of global significance yet, but the emergence of the concept is probably the most important point here. I can imagine we'll start seeing localised clones popping up in the App Store pretty soon.
Yeah, I think it's about time we stepped up from the decrepit and impersonal old town hall community notice boards. I mean, even community websites tend to look horrible and out of date. So it would be great to have a modern app that's accessible from anywhere and always up to date. I mean, arguably Facebook and Twitter can provide that kind of information, but it's often inconsistent and a lot of specialised groups, activities and events get left out.
Oh, I've got to say, most community websites and community notice boards, they have this problem that they're chronically uncool. No matter where you go, especially I would say in our area, in this part of England, there is a sort of neighbourhood watch style approach to it, where
Absolutely.
it's a rusty notice board on the side of the village church, and if you include the word community, no one wants to be part of it, kind of thing. So this is certainly a good app if you're going to put local gigs and things on it, but it's just when you start including those sort of mothers meetings and stuff, it tends to get drowned down in this cliche community thing, and that's where you usually lose younger people in England. Maybe not so much in other communities around the world, but in England you tend to lose people just using the word community. Apps to assist urban exploration.
Now, I've done my fair share of urban exploration, having visited almost every location in this part of Kent, which was referred to as Hellfire Corner in the Second World War due to constant bombardment by Nazi bombers. So naturally, it's very heavily fortified with underground bunkers and even some complete fortresses that date back to Napoleonic times. And I camped on the roof of one of these fortresses that actually housed SAS troops during the Second World War who were there waiting with explosives, yes explosives, to destroy Dover Harbour in case of a Nazi invasion. So it's all pretty exciting stuff. Oh, and I've been to a mental asylum too. That was pretty amazing actually, very scary. There was urine crystals everywhere. They were coming through the ceiling, and you can actually make dynamite from one of the ingredients of dynamite is found in these urine crystals. There's a really interesting historic article I will put up on the website that's about that, because you'll often find these crystals in abandoned locations and people don't know what they are. They think they're mould. They look like mould, but they're actually a metallic crystal. Anyway, now half of the fun of exploring abandoned places is the hunt. It's about discovering new locations that very few people have seen before, using nothing but a collection of vague clues from previous explorers and old maps. For obvious reasons, it's not a great idea for lots of people to know the location of these sites. I mean, there are trespassing issues, trespassing which is not a crime, by the way. I'd just like to put that out there. To dangerous conditions, looters and even vandals. And the golden rule of urban exploring is take only pictures, leave only footprints, and never ever reveal a location online. Well, this next app ignores those rules entirely.
The abandoned iPhone app pinpoints urban exploration locations directly on a map. The community-based app relies on user input to determine where abandoned sites are located. And beyond mere maps, it allows you to post photos, stories of your own adventures. Not only does it allow you to fill out the lore and interesting places, it can help people avoid dangerous areas and can give precise instructions for easy access.
GPS mapping automatically locates and displays abandoned sites near you, and you can store a private log of your own locations if you don't want to share it with others.
You can also rate the sites from 1 to 5 stars, share your comments, and contribute to locations submitted by others.
Urban exploration has long relied upon word of mouth. In many cases, people in the know share information about certain sites only with others who can be trusted not to damage the site, call attention to themselves, or take risks that could result in serious injury.
So I come from, myself, something that would be considered quite a derelict area to most people around the world. We have an abandoned hoverboard, an abandoned seafront, an abandoned airport, an abandoned amusement park. We pretty much have an abandoned everything that you can go by and just see from anywhere in the town kind of thing. For me, growing up, urban exploration didn't seem like much of a thing because everything was abandoned. We had abandoned power plant, absolutely everything. So you could just go anywhere and be in the middle of an abandoned anything. So for some people living in certain urban areas that are probably a little bit nicer, they have to seek out this stuff for their own. But I don't see a problem with sharing this information with everybody. Where I come from, we just see it every day. It is what it is. But I guess a lot of people aren't experienced in going down rusty places, not knowing about tetanus and the dangers of slipping on a mouldy log or something. So I guess it's a bad idea to be giving this app to younger kids, I would say. Maybe older people a little bit more. They should be wiser to it. They may be able to filter out in their head where's a good idea and what's not. Give it a go.
Give it a go.
So what do you think of this? Do you agree with people sharing this information?
Well, I'm in two minds about the app, actually. And one is that there's far too many idiots out there who are happy to wreck places and, spoil the fun for everyone. Because of vandalism, almost all of the sites I used to visit as a kid have been sealed off with steel girders by the council. Good old council.
Good old council.
Good old council. However, on one of my more recent trips, I found a boarded up factory with hundreds of messages of condolence scribbled on the gate. It was really sad, actually. A young boy had entered the factory and fallen through the roof of one of the buildings, and he'd actually died.
Can I just ask, is this factory in the area that I come from?
It is indeed.
Okay.
It is exactly from the area you come from.
I know the one you're speaking about.
Yeah, you do. As you may know, Luke, his name was Cameron too, actually. So it was a definite reality check for me, especially considering the dangers of some of these places. And I think an app making people more aware so they can make informed decisions, as you've said, is probably a good idea. But I'd rather if the exact locations weren't given out and it was just clues. Because, a lot of the sites I visit and near me, they're historic locations. They're not abandoned factories. These are fortresses. These are bunkers from the Second World War, which nobody cares about apart from the urban explorers. As a kid, we used to visit one of the fortresses near our school pretty much every summer afternoon. And we cleared it out. We actually painted over the graffiti with white and got shovels and took all of the smashed up bottles and cans and barbed wire out. And we put it all in one corner because, we loved this place. I spent probably more hours there that year than I did at home. It was great.
I think one of the big problems with sharing this information and sharing online is it becomes then a communal area, an abandoned communal area. And in my town, we have an underground tunnel, a series of underground tunnels that have been abandoned for about 50 years. I'll make my hometown sound great. That have been abandoned for about 50 years, and recently they were bought up by local entrepreneurs and stuff. And I think it's absolutely ruined the experience of going down there for yourself. They've obviously had to adhere to health and safety laws. They've lit it a bit too well, if anything. I got the chance to go down there, fortunately, with an aforementioned radio station that I was working with when they first opened it up. And I was absolutely thrilled that I got to go down there. No doubt, it was one of the best, coolest experiences you can get. But I would have preferred to have gone there just knowing it was there by word of mouth. I didn't need a tourist brochure to take me there. And I think that's what this is. It's a digital tourist brochure for abandoned buildings.
Absolutely. It takes something from the magic of it, of the wildness and, the element of danger. I absolutely agree.
Anyway, you can check out Cameron's Urbex explorations and photographs on Instagram. He regularly uses Instagram for this kind of stuff. What's your handle at this day?
It's this day, I know it changes quite often. It's Cameron Free Deal. And you can find a link on the website of freedeal.co.uk actually. Now, we saw this coming and I ranted on about it quite profusely in a previous episode, but Feds want Apple's help to defeat encrypted phones, new legal case shows. Take it away, Luke.
Newly discovered court documents from 2 federal criminal cases in New York and California that remain otherwise sealed suggest that the Department of Justice is pursuing an unusual legal strategy to compel cell phone makers to assist in their investigations.
In both cases, the seized phones, one of which was an iPhone 5S, are encrypted and cannot be cracked by federal authorities.
So prosecutors now invoked the All Writs Act,
A 17th century federal law that allows courts to issue an order which compels a person or company to do something. Some legal experts are concerned that these rarely made public examples show the lengths that government is willing to go in defeating encrypted phones, raising new questions as to how far the government can compel a private company to aid in a criminal investigation or what they deem to be a criminal investigation, something which for me is becoming increasingly blurry.
The fact remains, Apple cannot bypass your password and therefore cannot access your data. One of the problems with this is that I don't know about US. This is all based in US law. Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
Okay, so all of this is based in US law, and I believe the backbone of the United States law is the innocent until proven guilty philosophy, isn't it? So until they've hacked into your phone, they don't know if you're guilty or not. So they have no right to go into your phone to start with.
You should be a lawyer, Luke. I like this. Yeah, and I mean, here's some really interesting points on the law regarding this. For Americans, that is. The Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination should protect US citizens from archaic laws prosecutors are digging up out of desperation.
So this is all from before America became an independent country.
I mean, exactly. But don't forget, and I've stressed this to all of our activist listeners already once before, you have no protection if you're using Touch ID. The feds can force your fingerprint out of you, and do not forget that.
For the first time, a federal judge has specifically noted that Apple is not required to attempt to decrypt or otherwise enable law enforcement's attempts to access any encrypted data.
So the battle continues.
Nintendo don't steal our games. This week it was discovered by a member of the gaming enthusiast forum NeoGAF that Nintendo own a patent on Game Boy emulation on mobile devices. This means we could see emulation of classic games such as Mario, Zelda, Pokemon on iOS and Android devices.
Up until now, any Game Boy emulation software for PC or mobile devices hasn't even been legal. However, surely with this new discovery, we could all be playing our favourite Nintendo games on our phones?
Well, probably not, because although the news is only broke this week with the discovery of the new documents, the original applications were filled in over 10 years ago. This means that it's more than likely that it's just further protection on their intellectual property.
I've uncovered something very interesting. So in contrast to the news you've just mentioned, Luke, as you know, Nintendo have long held that its iconic characters like Super Mario and Link from the Legend of Zelda series were Nintendo's and Nintendo's only, taking a tough stance on their likenesses being used in non-Nintendo media, even going so far as to send copyright takedown notices to those who've used the characters in YouTube videos. I mean, that's pretty crazy. It has recently been announced that they will now allow unlicensed derivative works, meaning parody makers, tribute builders and all-round fans now have free access to use classic gaming characters from Nintendo, you know, the ones we've all grown up in, free. That's right, free. No more takedown notices, no more threats. You can use Super Mario in whatever YouTube video you desire.
I highly recommend you check out, this is a little bit of bootleg Super Mario stuff. It's called Super Mario Bros. Kart with a K. It's the most, I can't think of a word for it. It's a terrible game, but it's just so, you can't stop playing it. You just cannot stop playing it. I highly recommend it. Go check it out. You can play it on your desktop PC only, I believe, on Flash Player. But it's Super Mario Kart. Needs to be played.
And let's bring out some free games on iPhone. Some free Nintendo character themed games on iPhone. So that's no ads, no premium, no freemium, free. Because we can do it now.
Yeah.
You know, let's immortalise these characters some more.
Yeah. Well, I think there's no reason Nintendo won't eventually embrace using other platforms. But at the moment, I think their main marketing advantage is that they have these nostalgic characters on their current platforms. There's not many people who, although you think of the Wii as a losing console, it actually sells, I think, more than the PlayStation and the Xbox, purely because it's so much cheaper and you can play it across the whole family. They sell these useful games, you know, these Wii Fit games and stuff. It's just such an easy to buy, cheap platform that people just seem to have, you know, alongside their PlayStation. Whereas people always go Xbox or PlayStation. They tend to just have a Wii as well.
That's a very good point, yeah. And I mean, it's in such contrast to the kind of the endless killing we see on COD and, I mean, most PlayStation, Xbox games. And I think the Nintendo DS is actually the best-selling games platform of all time. And consoles have pretty much died in Japan because everyone's using Nintendo DSs, and I mean, not many people realise this. Nintendo have a huge home market, and I mean, over here in the West, you know, they might not be performing as well as they are back home. They're still doing very well. Best-selling console, the Wii. It's amazing, really.
Firefox for iOS. This week, Mozilla Firefox release manager Lucas Black tweeted, "We need to be where our users are, so we're going to get Firefox on iOS." Matt Rutley, manager of data science at Mozilla, also stated, "Firefox for iOS, double exclamation mark. Let's do this, triple exclamation mark." So I think that's a fair indication that good old Firefox is joining iOS. Notoriously, Firefox have never released an iOS browser before due to Apple's unreasonable policies with which third-party browsers have to make theirs within Apple's own WebKit engine. Mozilla felt that WebKit would have provided a compromised experience to iOS users. So what's changed? I mean, Mozilla's remained a non-profit organisation, open source, which I know a lot of people debate, but we'll stick with the official line here. But what's changed to make them want to come across to iOS, do you think?
Demand. Simple as that. Demand.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I think with tablet-optimised websites, Mozilla Firefox is the go-to browser for web developers. If you can't view a website on Firefox on a tablet or an iOS device, then, you know, how do you know what it looks like? It's just... It's a nightmare.
Absolutely. I think it would be good to have all the web browsers in one place.
Yeah, that's it.
Back how they used to be on the desktop. It would be good to have all the web browsers in one place. Moving on.
This is the saddest story of the week. So, harps at the ready. No, mini violins at the ready. Harps if you're feeling, you know, particularly musical today.
Maybe some violas as well. Throw them in there.
Wow, yeah.
Because Microsoft are going to replace clip art with filtered Bing image searches. Now, a quote from NDTV Gadgets says that Microsoft will soon get rid of its old clip art images, as the firm has announced it will replace the iconic images with Bing's much updated image search. I don't really know where I stand on this. The issue for me is that getting rid of clip art is taking away what's almost part of a computer history and heritage. There was an interesting show a while back on PBS Ideas channel on YouTube about whether or not we need a better archive of the internet, because as things get updated, the old versions just fully get deleted in a way that they never have been before. Try finding screenshots of the third major update of Facebook and you will not find them, I can tell you that. And it's really hard to find, you know, the initial homepage for the first ever Facebook. That's difficult itself. In many ways, this is the same. By taking clip art out of Microsoft Office software, it's sacrificing history. As we all know, these days people much prefer to image search to source images. It's almost downright cringeworthy to use clip art images. It doesn't make them worthless though. These are iconic 90s graphics designs. It's like deleting the Coke logo.
I completely agree with you, Luke. I mean, we need like a central repository for all this great computing heritage stuff. Yeah, clip art, a lot of people would argue swap out the L and the I for an R and an A and you'll be a bit more close to, you know, what it's all about. But no, I agree. I have a nostalgic fondness for clip art.
Yeah, definitely. Not only that, but Office.com clip art image library has actually closed shop.
It's
so there's no way to find clip art at all as of when they delete this.
You know what we should do? We should release a clip art pack of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if Microsoft will let us do that, but yeah.
Well, you know, they obviously don't want clip art, so I think it's up for grabs.
Well, I think we'll find ourselves in the same place that many Mickey the Mouse artists find themselves. So what's next? Word art? Are they going to delete word art for us? I don't think that anyone would cry if they deleted Comic Sans, please, now. But also, Bing image search. Ugh. The new Bing image search will find Creative Commons images for personal or commercial use. It would be better if they just let you use your own default browser, but you could just go onto your own web browser and find it yourself anyway. This all comes less than a month after they make Office free.
Wow, so Microsoft, they're just giving it away.
Yeah, and they're stripping back some of their most iconic features.
What do you reckon? There must be some major plan in the works here.
Well, I'm hoping there's a game plan here from Microsoft. Otherwise, I think Bill Gates has got a lot to answer to. I think people don't really hold Bill Gates accountable like they used to with Steve Jobs, you know?
No, yeah.
Anything happens at Apple, they went Steve Jobs, or anything happens at Facebook, they always go Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
With Microsoft, you don't even think of a person, you just think of this corporation.
I think people think that Bill Gates the one who's actually died. Sorry, mate. I mean, would you go to a Microsoft museum?
I think I would.
I think I would too, actually.
Yeah, big canvas printings of clip art, exclamation marks and whatnot.
I can imagine the first desktop in kind of a rotating glass case.
Yeah.
With a little one of those informational stands next to it. It would be fantastic.
MS-DOS, just floating
Various
out underneath
fonts
us.
through history.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The invention of Comic Sans is a highlight of that timeline. But anyway, we must wrap the show up there before we just completely fall into a hole of whatever the hell we're talking
Microsoft hole.
about. So thank you so much for listening in. We will see you next week. We have been iOS App Today. I have been Luke Besant.
And I've been Cameron Norris.
Make sure you check us out on Twitter at iOS App News 24.
And don't forget, links to everything we've mentioned in the show will be available in the show notes, which you can find at apptodatepodcast.freedeal.co.uk.